At our father's funeral, my brother pointed at me in front of everyone and shouted, "You're a heartless daughter. You abandoned Dad and only came back for his money." He claimed he had cared for our father alone during his final months. I didn't argue. I didn't defend myself. I simply finished the funeral arrangements and let him believe I had accepted the lie. 2 days later, I stood on his front porch with the hospice director and my father's attorney. The moment he saw the visitor log and the court order in their hands, his face went pale. Why did you bring them here?" I looked him straight in the eyes. "Because Dad left proof of who was really there and what you forced him to sign." My name is Lauren Hayes. I was 39 when my father, Thomas Hayes, was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. Dad had spent 34 years repairing commercial refrigeration systems before opening Hayes Mechanical in Delaware, Ohio. He was not flashy. He wore the same brown work boots until the soles separated and drove a Ford pickup long after the air conditioning stopped working. But he had built something solid: a brick warehouse, a modest farmhouse, 12 acres of land on the edge of town. No private jets, no luxury estate, just enough property to make my older brother start referring to our father's death as the transition. Ryan was 43 and worked in commercial real estate. He had expensive suits, bright white teeth, and a voice that made bad ideas sound responsible. Whenever he wanted something, he never said, "I want this." He said, "We need to be practical." The day Dad's oncologist told us the cancer had spread, Ryan sat beside his hospital bed and opened a folder. "We need to be practical about the house," he said. Dad was still wearing the hospital bracelet. "What about it?" I asked. "It's too much property for him." Dad looked at Ryan. "I'm sitting right here." "Of course you are," Ryan said quickly. "I'm only planning ahead." "Then plan somewhere else." Ryan smiled as if Dad had made a charming joke. His wife, Melissa, touched his arm. "He's trying to help." Melissa always said that. If Ryan interrupted someone, he was trying to help. If Ryan opened Dad's mail, he was trying to help. If Ryan arrived with a contract no one had requested, he was trying to help. Dad chose Meadowbrook Hospice after the pain became too difficult to manage at home. Meadowbrook was a small nonprofit facility about 20 minutes from my apartment in Columbus. It had 16 private rooms, wide windows, and a courtyard filled with maple trees. I worked as a physical therapist at Riverside Methodist Hospital. My first patient was scheduled at 7:30 each morning, so I began waking at 4:45. I drove to Meadowbrook before sunrise. The front doors were locked until 6, which meant I had to scan my driver's license at the security station each time I entered. Most mornings, I arrived around 5:20. Dad was usually awake. Sometimes we talked. Sometimes he slept while I sat beside him. Sometimes I helped him wash his face or change his shirt before the nurses became busy with morning medications. One morning, I brought him coffee from his favorite diner. He took one sip and frowned. "This is terrible. You say that every time." "Because it keeps being true. You drank the last cup." I was confirming my conclusion. "Do you want another?" "Yes." Dad and I had always been that way. Quiet, practical. Ryan was different. He liked visible affection. He arrived with large flower arrangements and photographed them beside Dad's bed. He posted captions like, "Another day with my hero. Family is everything." Then, he usually left before the flowers needed water. 3 weeks before Dad died, I walked into his room and found a property appraisal open on the side table. The house, warehouse, and land had been valued at just under $2 million. Dad followed my eyes. "Ryan brought that." "Why?" "He has a buyer." "Did you agree to sell?" Dad shook his head. I told him no. I picked up the appraisal. At the top was the name Ridgeline Development. I recognized it. Ryan had handled several transactions for them. This isn't just an appraisal, I said. There's a proposed sale price. Dad looked tired. He keeps bringing papers. What kind of papers? Says, some are insurance, some are about the company. Did you sign anything? He looked toward the door before answering. I don't know. My stomach tightened. What do you mean you don't know? He comes late, after the medicine. Dad, we need to call Mason. Mason Brooks had been Dad's attorney for nearly 20 years. Dad closed his hand around my wrist. Not yet. Why? Ryan will turn it into a war. He may already have. Dad stared at the appraisal. There's a blue notebook at home, top drawer of my desk. What's in it? What I wanted done, with the company, with everything. Before he could say more, Ryan entered carrying coffee and a bouquet large enough to block half the doorway. His smile disappeared when he saw the appraisal in my hand. What are you doing? Dad asked me. To look at this. No, he didn't. Dad raised his head. Yes, I did. Ryan ignored him. He took the appraisal from me. This is a private business discussion. It concerns Dad's property. And you suddenly care about Dad's property? I stared at him. I'm here almost every morning. Ryan laughed. That's convenient. What does that mean? It means no one sees you. Dad said stop. Ryan's expression softened immediately. Dad, she's upsetting you. I'm not upset. His voice cracked with exhaustion. A nurse appeared at the door. Her name was Patrice Cole. She had been working the early shift throughout Dad's stay. Everything all right? Before I could answer, Ryan pulled out his phone. My sister is pressuring him about his estate. I'm asking why you left a sale agreement beside his bed. It's an appraisal, with a buyer's name and proposed closing date. Ryan pointed his camera at me. What are you doing? I asked. Documenting this. Turn it off. Dad lifted his hand. Ryan. But Ryan kept recording. I stepped toward him. Dad asked me to call his attorney. Ryan moved back dramatically. There. Did everyone hear that? She's trying to interfere with his legal decisions. Patrice stepped between us. Mr. Hayes, recording is not permitted without consent. Ryan lowered the phone, but he did not stop the recording. That evening, a 23-second video appeared in our family group chat. It began with me saying, I'm asking why there's an appraisal beside his bed. Then it jumped forward. Dad asked me to call his attorney. Ryan had removed everything in between, including Dad saying he wanted Mason contacted. He added a message, Lauren came to the hospice this morning and upset Dad over his property. I have tried to protect his peace, but her behavior is becoming disturbing. My Aunt Diane called me within 10 minutes. Why would you discuss inheritance while your father is dying? I wasn't discussing inheritance. I saw the video. It was edited. Why would Ryan edit it? That question told me she had already chosen what to believe. I have to get ready for work. Your father is dying, Lauren. I know. Then perhaps your priorities should reflect that. She hung up. The following morning, the receptionist at Meadowbrook did not unlock the secure doors. She came to speak to me through the intercom. I'm sorry, Lauren, your visits have been restricted. By whom? Your father's healthcare representative. I am his healthcare representative. She looked down at her screen. Not according to the updated document. Ryan had filed a new medical power of attorney naming himself. The form carried Dad's signature. It was dated the same day Ryan recorded me. I called him from the parking lot. You restricted my visits. I'm protecting Dad. From me. From stress. He asked for me. He was confused. Put him on the phone. He's resting. I'll come back this afternoon. If you arrive without approval, security will remove you. My fingers tightened around the phone. You are keeping me away from my dying father. I'm keeping you from pressuring him about money. His voice was louder than necessary. I realized someone else was listening. Who's with you? That's irrelevant. Are you recording this? He hung up. For the next 11 days, I was allowed 2 supervised visits. Each lasted 30 minutes. Ryan sat in the room both times. Dad was heavily medicated. During the second visit, I leaned close to him. Do you want me here? His eyes opened. Yes. Ryan stood. That's enough. Dad lifted his hand weakly. Blue notebook. Ryan froze. What blue notebook? I asked. Dad tried to speak again, but the words dissolved into a breath. Ryan pressed the call button. He's in pain. A nurse entered and Ryan talked over me until I was escorted out. Dad died 3 days later at 2:18 in the morning. Ryan called Aunt Diane first. He called the minister. He called 2 of Dad's former employees. He did not call me. I learned through a text 27 minutes after Dad was gone. Dad passed peacefully. Please give the family space before coming over. I drove to Meadowbrook anyway. Patrice met me at the nurse's station. Her eyes were red. I'm sorry, was he alone? She hesitated. Ryan left around 11. Did Dad say anything? He asked for you. The hallway seemed to move beneath me. Patrice reached for my arm. I called the number listed in his chart. That number goes to Ryan. I know. Why didn't anyone call me? Your number had been removed. I looked at Dad's closed door. Can I see him? She nodded. Inside his room had already been cleaned except for the cup I had brought from home. Dad hated paper straws, so I had brought him an old plastic tumbler from his kitchen. I sat beside him and touched his hand. I was coming back, I whispered. That sentence stayed with me. I was coming back. Ryan organized the funeral before I had even spoken to the director. He selected the photographs, the music, and the speakers. Most of the photographs came from his own Facebook page. He appeared in nearly every one. When I asked to deliver a short eulogy, Ryan said, I don't think that would be appropriate. Why people are upset? With me. You disappeared when Dad needed you. You blocked me from seeing him. Lauren, please don't rewrite history. He said it calmly. That was Ryan's most dangerous quality. He could wound you while sounding disappointed that you had forced him to do it. 2 days before the funeral, Mason called me. I received a new will. From Dad. From Ryan's attorney. The new document left the house warehouse and all 12 acres to Ryan. I received Dad's pickup, his personal belongings, and $25,000. The previous will divided the property equally. When was the new will signed? 17 days before your father died. The same week Ryan restricted my visits. Who witnessed it? Ryan's business partner and Melissa's cousin. Who confirmed Dad was competent? A geriatric consultant named Dr. Wallace. I had never heard of him. Did Dr. Wallace treat Dad? I'm investigating that. Can Ryan sell the property? Not until probate begins. But Lauren, if you intend to challenge this, do not confront him yet. Why? Because we need the records preserved before he knows what we're looking for. I thought about the blue notebook. He changed the locks at Dad's house. How do you know I tried my key? Do not go inside. Do not threaten him. Do not post online. He's telling everyone I abandoned Dad. Let him talk. That's easy for you to say. No, Mason said. It's legal advice, not emotional advice. Emotionally, I would prefer to see you knock him into the flower arrangement he ordered. Despite everything, I laughed. Then Mason's voice became serious again. We need evidence, Lauren, not a family argument. At the funeral, Ryan gave me plenty of reasons to ignore that advice. He stood near the entrance, greeting people like a politician. He wore Dad's silver watch. When I approached, he stepped into my path. You came. He was my father. Please don't create a scene. I'm here to bury him. Melissa appeared beside him. Her eyes were already wet. This day should be about Thomas. I agree. Then don't make it about money. I looked at her. I haven't said anything about money. Ryan leaned closer. You don't have to. Everyone knows why you're here. During the service, he walked to the lectern and placed both hands on it. My father taught me that love is proven through action. He paused until the room became completely quiet. I was fortunate to care for him every day during his final months. Melissa began crying. Not everyone made that choice. Several relatives turned toward me. Ryan looked directly at my face. Dad was hurt by certain absences, but he never became bitter. Even when someone returned at the end, asking questions about property, he chose forgiveness. My Aunt Diane whispered, "Don't make a scene." I had not moved. Ryan continued. Some people believe a funeral is the right place to begin fighting over an inheritance. That was when he pointed at me. You're a heartless daughter. You abandoned Dad and only came back for his money. The minister stood halfway from his chair. Ryan, no, Ryan said. The truth matters. He looked back at the mourners. I was the one who fed him, drove him to appointments, and sat beside him when he was afraid. She left him alone. Every part of me wanted to stand. I wanted to tell them about the mornings, the coffee, the clean shirts, the final request for Mason. But Mason's warning echoed in my mind. Do not tell him what we are looking for. So I remained seated. I did not argue. I did not explain. When the service ended, I thanked the minister, helped return Dad's photographs to their boxes, and completed the remaining funeral paperwork. Ryan mistook my silence for defeat. That was his first mistake. 2 days later, Mason obtained an emergency order from the probate court. It suspended Ryan's ability to sell or remove estate property until an independent inventory could be completed. It also ordered the preservation of Dad's financial, legal, and electronic records. That morning, Elena Martinez Meadowbrook's director called Mason. Ryan had contacted the hospice and demanded that all visitor information be erased. He claimed the records violated family privacy. Elena refused. She also agreed to provide a certified access report under the court's preservation order. That was how we ended up on Ryan's front porch. He stared at Elena's folder. What is that Meadowbrook's electronic visitor log? She said. Why would you bring private information here? It contains no medical details. It records access to our building. Mason held up the order. We also have authorization to inventory Thomas Hayes's documents and electronic devices. You can't enter my home. This is your father's home, Mason said. The deed remains in his name, and the property is part of an unsettled estate. Ryan looked past us toward the street. A sheriff's deputy waited beside a marked car. Mason said, "You can cooperate, or the deputy can explain the order." Ryan unhooked the security chain. Inside, almost everything already looked different. Dad's family photographs had been removed from the hallway. Melissa had placed decorative pillows on the couch. A large television box stood beside the fireplace. Ryan had started treating the house like his own before Dad had been buried. Elena placed the visitor report on the dining table. Ryan refused to sit. What exactly do you think this proves? You stated at the funeral that you cared for your father every day, Elena said. I did. Our system recorded 14 visits under your identification. That's inaccurate. The system requires a government-issued ID after hours. I entered with employees. Visitors cannot enter residential areas through staff entrances. Ryan turned toward me. She came twice. Elena opened the report. Lauren entered Meadowbrook 126 times. Ryan's mouth opened, but no words came out. Elena continued. Most of her entries occurred between 5:15 and 5:45 in the morning. Ryan recovered quickly. She stayed 10 minutes and left. Several exits were logged after 8. She was pressuring Dad. Our incident records show no such pattern. She discussed his estate. Only after a property appraisal was left in his room. Ryan glared at me. You brought her here to embarrass me. No, I said. You did that yourself at the funeral. Mason placed a second folder on the table. There's also the matter of $68,000. Melissa stopped near the kitchen doorway. What $68,000? Ryan looked at her. Don't. Mason opened Dad's bank records. Payments made to Hayes Family Care, LLC during the final 4 months of Thomas's life. Melissa's face changed. The company was registered in her name. Ryan said, "Those were legitimate reimbursements." "For what services?" Mason asked. "Transportation, overnight care, medication assistance." "Elena, did Meadowbrook provide overnight care and medication assistance?" "Yes." "Was Thomas transported anywhere during his final 6 weeks?" "Only once by ambulance." Mason looked back at Ryan. "Then produce your employees' timesheets and care records." "We used independent contractors." "Name one." Ryan's jaw tightened. "This is harassment." "No," I said. "This is accounting." While Mason and the deputy began the inventory, I went to Dad's office. The top drawer was empty. No blue notebook. The desk computer was gone. "Where's Dad's computer?" I asked. Ryan stood in the doorway. "It stopped working." "Where is it?" "I disposed of it." "After the court-ordered preservation?" "Before." Mason looked up. When Ryan hesitated, "A week ago." "The funeral was 5 days ago," I said. His eyes flashed. "You know what I mean." Mason wrote something on his legal pad. Then I noticed a framed photograph on the bookshelf. It showed Ryan sitting behind Dad's desk the day after Dad died. He had posted a similar picture online with the caption, "Taking responsibility for the legacy Dad left me." Behind Ryan's elbow, partly hidden beneath a stack of papers, was a blue notebook. I picked up the frame. "What is this?" Ryan glanced at it. "Nothing." "You said you didn't know about the notebook." I said Dad was confused. "You had it. It was garbage. What did you do with it?" "I threw it away." Mason took the frame from me. "Under the preservation order, we will be requesting forensic access to your cloud storage, phone backups, and any scanned documents." Ryan laughed. "You think a notebook is going to undo a signed will?" "No," Mason said, "but your fear of it might." After we left, Ryan went online. He posted a video from Dad's driveway. His voice shook as he described how his estranged sister had arrived with lawyers to raid the family home. Melissa stood beside him crying. Ryan said Lauren could not be bothered to care for our father while he was alive. Now she is trying to steal what he left behind. The post spread quickly. Relatives shared it. Several of Dad's former employees commented that Ryan deserved support. A woman from Dad's church wrote, "Greed reveals people's true character." I almost responded. Mason stopped me. "Every public statement gives us another claim to compare against the records. He's destroying my reputation. He is also committing himself to a story. And the more specific the story becomes, the harder it is to escape when one part collapses." The first part collapsed 3 days later. Dr. Wallace admitted that his evaluation of Dad had lasted 11 minutes over video. Dad had received morphine 40 minutes earlier. Wallace had never reviewed the complete medication chart. The capacity form had already been filled out when it reached him. Ryan's attorney had asked him only to sign it. Then the handwriting analyst delivered his preliminary report. Dad's signature on the new will was almost identical to a signature from a warehouse refinancing document signed 6 years earlier. Not similar, nearly identical in pressure brake spacing and ink placement. Someone had likely copied it digitally. Ryan responded by releasing the edited hospice video again. This time, he added subtitles. Lauren pressures dying father to call lawyer. But Meadowbrook had preserved the original hallway recording. The full video began before Ryan entered the room. Dad's voice was weak but clear. I asked Lauren to look at the papers. I said, "Do you want me to call Mason?" "Yes." Ryan's voice followed. "Dad, you're confused." "I'm not confused. You don't know what she's asking." I understand my own daughter. When the original video was filed with the court, Aunt Diane called me. I saw it. I said nothing. "Ryan cut out your father's answers." "Yes." "Why didn't you tell me?" "I did." She became quiet. "You said the video was edited." "Yes." "I thought you were making excuses." "I know. I'm sorry. I'm not ready to discuss that yet." She started crying. For months, Ryan had used tears to avoid accountability. I was no longer impressed by tears. The next discovery explained why he had been so desperate. Ridgeline Development had paid Ryan a $150,000 consulting advance. The contract described it as non-refundable once Ryan obtained authority to sell Dad's land. Ryan had already spent most of it. He also had nearly $600,000 in loans connected to failed property investments. He was not fighting for Dad's legacy. He had sold it before he legally owned it. The day before the probate hearing, Melissa called me. She asked to meet in a coffee shop. She looked exhausted. No makeup, no perfect hair, no Ryan beside her telling her what things meant. "I didn't know about Ridgeline," she said. "You knew about Hayes Family Care." Her eyes dropped. "Ryan said we were allowed to reimburse ourselves. For visits, for time, gas, meals. $68,000. He created the invoices. But the company is in your name." He said it was safer. Safer for whom? She started crying. I slid a napkin toward her, but did not comfort her. "Did you provide care?" "Sometimes." "How many times?" 4 or 5. "You billed Dad for overnight care on 73 dates." "I know." "Did Ryan ask you to sign the invoices?" "Yes." "Will you testify?" She looked frightened. "He'll destroy me. He already put the company in your name." Her face changed as the meaning reached her. Ryan had done to Melissa what he did to everyone. He placed the risk in someone else's hands and kept the benefit for himself. At the probate hearing, Ryan arrived in a dark suit with 2 attorneys. He still looked confident. That confidence weakened when Melissa sat on our side of the courtroom. The judge began with the new will. Mason presented the timeline, the altered healthcare proxy, the restricted visits, the 11-minute capacity evaluation, the copied signature, the $68,000 in false care invoices, the Ridgeline contract. Then Elena testified about the visitor log. "How many times did Lauren Hayes enter Meadowbrook during Thomas Hayes' stay?" Mason asked. 126. "And Ryan Hayes?" 14. Ryan's attorney stood. "Mr. Hayes may have entered without scanning. That was not possible after hours." "Could Lauren have visited solely to influence her father's estate decisions?" Elena did not look at me. She arrived before sunrise, assisted with personal care, and typically left for work. The records show no pattern of legal meetings during those visits. Patrice testified next. She described the mornings, the coffee, the clean shirts, the day Dad asked for Mason. Ryan's attorney suggested she had become personally attached to me. Patrice answered, "I became attached to Mr. Hayes. That is why I am here." Melissa testified that Ryan created Hayes Family Care and instructed her to sign invoices for services they had not provided. Ryan stared at her throughout the testimony. When she finished, he whispered loudly enough for several people to hear, "You're lying because you want money." Melissa looked at him. "No, I lied when I wanted to keep you." Then, Mason played Meadowbrook's full hallway video. Afterward, he introduced the files from Meadowbrook's family memory program. Dad had used the hospice tablet to record messages during several mornings. Ryan objected. The judge allowed the videos because Dad had created them voluntarily, and the estate's temporary administrator had authorized their release. Dad appeared on the courtroom screen. He looked thinner than I remembered. Morning sunlight crossed his blanket. He held a paper cup near his chest. "Lauren brought me coffee again," he said. "Still terrible." A few people smiled. I covered my mouth. Dad continued. "She comes before work because she thinks love has to be quiet. Maybe I taught her that." He looked toward the window. "Ryan comes when he wants something signed." Ryan shifted beside his lawyer. "I love my son, but love doesn't make a lie true." Dad reached down and lifted the blue notebook. "He wants me to sell the land to Ridgeline." I said no. He told me I wouldn't know the difference after I was gone. Ryan closed his eyes. Dad opened the notebook. "I wrote everything here 2 years ago. The house and warehouse are to be divided equally between Lauren and Ryan. The rear 6 acres are to be donated to Meadowbrook for a place where families can rest." He looked directly into the tablet camera. "If anyone says Lauren abandoned me, check the mornings." His voice weakened. "She was always there before the rest of the world woke up." The video ended. For several seconds, the courtroom remained completely silent. Then, Ryan stood. He was confused. His lawyer grabbed his sleeve. Ryan pulled away. Lauren manipulated him. She always had to be the good child. I looked at him. "I never asked you to become the bad one. You made me look selfish. You billed a dying man for care you didn't provide. I sacrificed my career. You sold his land before he died. I was saving the company." "Whose company?" He stopped. Dad's company had no serious financial problems. Only Ryan did. The judge suspended Ryan's appointment as executor immediately. She froze all property transfers, appointed an independent fiduciary, and ordered a full forensic accounting. The new will was placed under formal challenge. The evidence concerning the signature and false invoices was referred to the county prosecutor. Ryan did not leave the courtroom in handcuffs. Real consequences are usually slower than people expect. But Ridgeline sued him for misrepresentation. His real estate license was placed under review. He was ordered to return the remaining consulting money. Melissa filed for separation. Several months later, the new will was invalidated after the handwriting findings, Dr. Wallace's testimony, and evidence of undue influence were accepted by the court. Dad's previous estate plan was restored. Some relatives apologized. Others began speaking to me again without mentioning what they had said. Aunt Diane came to my apartment carrying a casserole. "I should have asked you what happened," she said. "Yes. I believed Ryan because he sounded certain. He always sounds certain. I called you greedy." "You did." She looked down. "Can you forgive me?" "Maybe." Her face lifted slightly. "But forgiveness does not erase the part where trust has to be rebuilt." She nodded. "That's fair." The rear 6 acres of Dad's property were donated to Meadowbrook. 18 months later, construction began on the Thomas Hayes Family Respite Center. It included overnight rooms, a small kitchen, counseling offices, and a garden where families could sit when hospice rooms became too crowded for their grief. On opening day, Elena handed me a paper cup. I took one sip. "This is terrible." She smiled. "So I've heard." Near the garden entrance stood a small plaque. It did not mention Ryan. It did not mention the court case, the false invoices, or the funeral. It read, "In memory of Thomas Hayes, who believed love is measured by who shows up when no one is watching." For months, I thought I needed the entire family to understand that I had not abandoned Dad. Eventually, I realized the people who mattered already knew. The nurses knew, the hospice director knew, my father knew. And records have a strange loyalty. People can edit videos. They can rewrite memories. They can cry loudly enough to make a lie sound compassionate. But 126 quiet mornings still happened. My brother believed the loudest person at a funeral would own the truth. He forgot that grief fades, witnesses speak, and records remember.